Imagine two people. Same age, same city, same starting salary. Let's call them Zara and Ali. At 22, both of them land their first real jobs. Same company, same paycheck, about $3,000 a month after taxes. They grab coffee together on their first day and talk about what they're going to do with their new income. Ali is excited. He's been waiting for this moment his entire life. "I'm finally making real money," he says. "I deserve to enjoy it." Zara nods, smiles, and says something a little different. "I want to make sure this money actually means something 10 years from now." Fast forward to age 35. Same two people, but their lives look completely different. Ali is stressed, living paycheck to paycheck despite earning more than ever. Zara, she has investments quietly growing in the background, a small emergency fund, and something Ali doesn't have: options. So what happened between 22 and 35? Was it luck? A higher salary? A secret investment tip? No, it was one decision, one shift in thinking. And it's a mistake so common, so normalized, that most people in their 20s don't even realize they're making it. Here's the mistake, and it's not what most finance videos will tell you. It's not that people in their 20s spend too much on coffee. It's not avocado toast, subscription services, or going out on weekends. The real mistake is this: treating your 20s as a waiting room instead of a launching pad. Most people in their 20s believe, on some level, that their financial life hasn't really started yet. That wealth building is something you do when you're older, more settled, more stable, when you have a bigger salary, when life calms down. And because they believe that, they make a series of completely logical, completely reasonable decisions that quietly cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime. Let that sit for a second. Not because of one big bad decision, not because of a scam or a crash or a catastrophe, just because of a belief, a story they told themselves about when the right time was to start. Let's understand why this happens, because it's deeply psychological. When you're 22 or 23 and earning your first real income, your brain is doing something very natural. It's comparing your current self to your recent past self, the broke student who had to think twice before ordering a meal deal. And compared to that version of you, you feel rich. That feeling is real, and it leads to a very human response: reward yourself. Psychologists call this lifestyle inflation. As your income goes up, your spending rises to match it, almost automatically, almost invisibly. The slightly better apartment, the newer phone, the nicer clothes because you're a professional now. None of these feel like mistakes. Each one feels justified. And here's the thing: none of them are wrong individually. The problem isn't spending. The problem is the order of operations. Most people in their 20s follow this sequence: earn money, spend money, save whatever's left. But here's what actually builds wealth: earn money, save and invest first, spend what remains. That's it. That's the whole game. The sequence sounds simple, but the psychological resistance to it is enormous. Because saving first feels like deprivation. It feels like you're punishing yourself before you've even done anything wrong. Your brain is wired to feel loss more intensely than gain. That's called loss aversion, and it's one of the most well-documented quirks in all of human psychology. When you see money leaving your account before you've had a chance to enjoy it, it genuinely feels bad, even if the logical part of you knows it's the right move. Now let's talk numbers, because this is where it gets almost uncomfortable. At 22, if you invest just $200 a month into a basic index fund, earning an average return of 8% per year, which is historically a reasonable expectation for long-term market investing, something extraordinary happens over time. By age 32, that's roughly $36,000 of your own money put in. But the actual value? Closer to $58,000. The market has added more than $22,000 on top of what you contributed. By age 42, you've put in $48,000 total, but the value has grown to around $117,000. By age 52, you've contributed $72,000 of your own money, but the balance, over $230,000. You didn't do anything extra. You didn't pick special stocks. You didn't get lucky. You just started at 22 instead of waiting. Now here's the painful comparison. If Ali waits until 32 to start investing the same $200 a month, by age 52, he's only at about $98,000, less than half of what Zara has, even though he invested for the same number of years and the same amount per month. That 10-year head start is worth over $130,000. Because of compound interest, what Einstein reportedly called the eighth wonder of the world. Here's the simplest way to understand compound interest. Imagine you plant a tree at 22. Every year, that tree grows and produces seeds. Those seeds grow into new trees, which also produce seeds. By the time you're 50, you don't just have one tree, you have a forest. But if you wait until 32 to plant the first tree, you can never fully catch up. The forest will always be smaller, no matter how hard you work later. But here's the deeper insight, the part most finance channels skip. The problem isn't just that people don't invest in their 20s. The problem is that they don't invest in their 20s because nobody taught them that their 20s were the most financially powerful decade of their life. Think about everything society teaches you in your 20s. Get a good degree, land a good job, build your career, start dating seriously. Maybe travel, experience life, think about where you want to live. Money conversations in your 20s are almost always about earning more, spending wisely, staying out of debt. Rarely is anyone sitting a 22-year-old down and saying, "The next 10 years are worth more to your financial future than any other decade you will ever live. Use them." That gap between what's financially true and what's culturally communicated is where the mistake lives. And it's compounded by something else, social comparison. In your 20s, you are surrounded by people spending visibly. Social media is a highlight reel of experiences, things, and lifestyles. The psychological pressure to match what you see is relentless and mostly unconscious. You don't decide to overspend. You just slowly drift into the habits of the people around you. There's a concept in behavioral economics called social proof. We look at what others are doing as a guide for what we should do. And if everyone around you is spending freely and nobody around you is visibly investing, your brain registers investing as unusual, unnecessary, or even a little strange. The result, an entire generation of intelligent, capable people who delay wealth building not out of stupidity, but out of context, out of environment, out of a very human tendency to follow the social current. So what does doing it differently actually look like? It starts with one simple reframe. Stop thinking of saving and investing as what you do with what's left over. Start thinking of it as the first bill you pay to yourself. Automate it. The moment your paycheck hits, before you browse, before you scroll, before you even check your balance, a fixed amount moves into a separate account or investment. You never see it. You never have to resist spending it. It just goes. Even if it's small, even if it's $50 a month when you're just starting out. The habit, the identity of being someone who invests, is more valuable in your 20s than the amount itself. The second thing is understanding the difference between spending that feels like living and spending that builds a life. A weekend trip with your best friends, that's memory, connection, experience. That's worth it. Upgrading your phone because last year's model feels slightly slow, that's lifestyle inflation in disguise. This isn't about being cheap. It's about being intentional. The question to ask is, am I spending because this genuinely adds to my life, or am I spending because it's easy, expected, or just what I do? The third thing, and this one is uncomfortable, is to start before you feel ready. Most people wait until their income is higher, their debt is lower, their situation is more stable. But there will always be a reason to wait. The income never feels high enough. The debt never feels low enough. The time never feels exactly right. The people who build wealth in their 20s are not the ones who had perfect conditions. They're the ones who started imperfectly, in the middle of uncertainty, with whatever small amount they could set aside. Let's go back to Zara and Ali one more time. At 35, when Ali asks Zara how she got ahead, she doesn't give him a complicated answer. She doesn't mention a hot stock or a lucky break. She says, I just decided that 22-year-old me was going to do something small that 35-year-old me would thank her for. That's it. That's the whole secret. Not a massive sacrifice, not a perfect plan, just a decision made early that compounded over time, not just financially, but psychologically. Because once you start, once you see your money growing even slowly, something shifts in your relationship with money. You stop seeing yourself as someone money happens to. You start seeing yourself as someone who builds it. Here's the thought to leave you with. The greatest financial advantage you have right now, if you're in your 20s, isn't your intelligence, your salary, or your connections. It's time. And unlike money, time cannot be earned back, borrowed, or recovered. Every year you wait doesn't just cost you money. It costs you compounding. It costs you the seeds that would have grown into trees that would have grown into forests. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need a big salary. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to plant the first tree. Start before you're ready. Start smaller than feels significant. Start today. Because the version of you at 45 is already watching, quietly hoping that the version of you right now makes the decision they wish they had made.